So, good morning everyone. As you've just heard, my name's Gaz Kinton. Who am I? So, I'm a lad, a Leicester guy, a Leicester lad. Grew up around Glenfield and got lost in the world. I got lost in the world for a lot of years due to addiction. I was a heroin addict, alcoholic, crack addict. Pretty much whatever would fix a hole in me, I did. 8 years ago, on Thursday just gone, I was in a prison. So for me to be standing here and sharing with you this morning told me my God's real. 8 years ago, I queued up and had my last dose of methadone in a prison wing. Going to a place called the Carpenter's Arms, and most of you have heard of the Carpenter's Arms. Just clarify if you've not, it is not a pub. Right? It's Jesus, his arms, and the wrap around him. And I went there, I got saved, couldn't believe it, couldn't believe that this was real, couldn't believe I could get a day clean and sober, let alone transform the life, and it has done. So on Thursday was my 8 years clean and sober day. I now go back into prisons. That's why sometimes I don't come with Swami when it comes to stuff. I'm part of a Western Baptist Church in Leicester. I'm part of a team from there that goes into Fossway prison once a month. And we see salvations, we're baptising people in there. God's doing something awesome in the prison, and it needs it. Let's be honest, that's the truth. These guys need Jesus as much as we do. So, thank you for letting me come and share this morning. That's who I am. That's where I'm at, and I'm very grateful to be able to come and share. I love John and Margaret. I love all of you really. But these two always encourage me, and Rhoda as well, and just it's great to be here. So, as we just heard, the reading was Luke 18:35 to 43. Now, I'm going to get told off. I keep taking my glasses on and off. She did last time. I need to, because I can't see you otherwise. So, I have to imagine myself in the position of the people, what's just been spoken. So when I think of the beggar, I have to think of what he's seeing. I have to think of the crowd that's around, that's going to and from Jericho, what they're actually doing, what they're actually talking about. I have to think about the disciples that were Jesus. I have to think about where Jesus was at and where he was going. I start to sit with this stuff and I start to get a picture in my mind, my heart, my mind of what God wants to say through it. I can relate to the beggar so much as he sits on the roadside, forgotten, ignored and hopeless. I just think of how many people actually walk past him on the way to the markets in Jericho. They go through there must have been thousands and thousands of people. And they'd go through there, go and do the business, and they'd come back. I just wonder how many people in those times would actually give him anything. Pay him any attention. Remember, that would have been his form of income. I always have to remind myself of this. He was blind. He could still walk. Can you just imagine sitting on the side of that road and hearing thousands and thousands of people walking by and talking? You'd pick up little things about Jesus and the miracles he's done previously. Can you imagine the longing in his heart? I want that. I can relate so much to it. I could hear these stories and think, surely, what about me? This is where one cry of faith transforms his entire life. Not just part of it, his whole life. I always like to split my sermons into like points, pinpoint specific things throughout the parable and stuff. So in verse 35, he was sitting in a desperate position with no way of changing anything. He must have been there for years. There was no way that he was going to be able to see, or he didn't think. But without even realising it, like I just said, he'd actually positioned himself there on that road. Because his legs still worked, it was his eyes that didn't see. It's the same as us. We have to position ourselves in places. Sometimes we have to move a little. So what I want to say is, no matter what your current circumstances or limitations, none of it disqualifies us from God's grace. No matter where you're at, God's grace can meet you right there. I look at first, this is the second point. He actually said, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. This also tells me that he recognises Jesus as the Messiah, that he really believes it as well. So he's heard these stories, he's heard these things, but he calls him son of David. The beggar sees himself as the worst, the lost, and he asks for mercy. And mercy means not being punished, so this is something spiritual that's going on inside of him here. This is something that he connects in his spirit with Jesus before he actually sees him, practically like before he heals his body, he heals his spirit. Number 3, in 39, a persistent faith. This is quite strange when you think about it. The people who's walking with Jesus actually tell him to be quiet. The people making a way. Now that's other Christians. Other people walking with Jesus telling you to be quiet. I love you. I'm going to listen to the Lord. Alright? It's a persistent faith. The crowd tries to silence the beggar, but he has none of it. Can you imagine hearing stories about Jesus healing people, doing all the stuff he did, and knowing he was that close, and someone telling you to shut up? Not a chance. I shouted from the rooftop. You see, these people actually walked and seen him. We're reading and believing. I love this stuff when it starts to spark something in here and get me excited. I think I want that. Not just for me, but for everyone. These guys that we see, that the world sees as hopeless cases, Jesus can change it. You can give them those eyes to see. Not just in their heads, but spiritually, in the hearts. Oh, sorry, I'm dropping the mic. You see, when you've heard all these stories about him, and then you know he's that close, I just know how powerful hope is. Because the time that I was in the prison cell, just before going to the Carpenters, when someone told me that they'd found somewhere and it worked, I didn't say yeah, but I'm not quite sure. I said I want it. I didn't even know it was Jesus, but I wanted it. true faith really pushes past obstacles, other people's opinions and fear. I mean, there's times that we can keep ourselves down, can't we? And just, you know what, fearful of not succeeding, fearful of it not happening, fearful of going against what his word says and what he'll do, fearful that he's not got a plan for your life, plans to prosper you, to harm you, but he has, to give you hope and a future. That's a promise. That's for you. All of us. After this, and he's cried out to Jesus, not just once but twice. Jesus returns with a real personal question. What can I do for you? What can I do for you? He's saying the same today. What can he do for you? Jesus is actually enticing the beggar, really, to step out in faith. He's inviting him to say it. But like I just said, fear and other people's opinions can stop us sometimes, but it didn't him. He wants him to be specific and honest. He wants him to know his need. Jesus knows his need, but he wants you to tell him. I think sometimes when, little challenge in this, when I can ask, or sometimes we go to the Lord and if I was that blind man, I wonder how many of us would go to him and say, Lord, let me just see for one more day. Downplaying the miracle. Jesus don't want to do it for one more day. He don't want to give you one eye either. He don't want to do part of it. He wants to go the whole way. He wants to heal you. He wants to change your heart. He wants to give you the eyes to see where he is in everything. I think sometimes though, when I go to pray honestly, I say, Lord, can you just? And the minute I say, can you just? I'm compromising. I'm like downplaying who he is and what he can do. Do you know that? Rather than saying, Lord, I'm going to thank you now for what you're about to do. And that's it. I want to be more like the beggar who boldly asks. He says, Lord, I want to see. He puts it out there, I want to see. Jesus doesn't say to him, yeah, but if you can do this or that, it's done. It says in verse 42 and 43, this is number 5, a life-changing miracle. Jesus responds to the beggar and says, your faith has healed you. That's your faith has healed you in who he is and what he does and has done. So now the beggar is no longer blind but can see. He healed him spiritually first and then physically. Sometimes we can be a little disheartened about, because your identity can change and who you are, your heart changes. You think, oh, but he's not done this for me physically. But don't be disheartened on that. Someone shared at the soup kitchen on Thursday night, a friend of mine, Fraser Simpson. He said he had hepatitis C, which is a blood-borne virus from taking, sharing needles and stuff. And he was in the carpenter's arms, and he said that he remembers the Lord saying to him, you're healed. But as he went down the line, he went for some tests and they couldn't get blood. And then he went for some more, they couldn't get more blood. And then he came back and he was positive still. But then, because he got the paper and the thing, they gave him some medication and he went through a process. And then he got another letter that said he was clear of hepatitis C. So he healed him in the spirit first, for him to believe. that this is even possible. And then he went through a process, and sometimes the Lord uses things, doesn't it? Like medication. And that's just it. I love the bit when he starts to follow Jesus then and starts praising God. Just remember, if you're a Christian in here and you've been born again, the world's watching us. People are looking at us. How we react to each other. They must have seen that beggar there for years and years and thought, he's a no, who is he? And then seen Jesus transform his life. Same as he has some of us in here, well, all of us. We all know who he is now and where we're going. Just your testimonies can actually lead others to worship God. They can actually see the glory of God through you. If they've known you for some of the people, and again on Thursday night at the soup kitchen, I was just about to share, and I looked around the room and I seen there was one guy, I don't mind me sharing the names, one guy called Jamie, and I thought I used to use with you. Then there was another guy called Glenn, and I thought I used to use with you. Then there was another guy here from Verdon, and I used to do bits with him. Then there was another lady in there, and I used to sell all my Nick stuff to her. I was thinking, I wonder what the odds are that Jesus could come and save so many, and we'd be all clean and praising God on a Thursday night. I actually put it into a chat GPT and it won't tell me a percentage, so that's even more of a miracle, because that knows everything. Yeah. Anyway, so I just want to come into the end now and say to you, no matter where you're at, no matter where you see other people on the side of the road, people that you think are lost, they all need Jesus. They all need the hearts opening to who Jesus is. I find it quite funny that, not funny is the wrong word, but the bit before this, Jesus tells the disciples who he is and pretty much lays the whole gospel out to them all, and they don't get it. They don't get it. Yet the blind man at the side of the road did. Believe. Be the blind man. Keep preaching the gospel. Keep sharing it. Keep talking of his goodness. Let's see people's lives get transformed, and beggars who are blind, let them now see. Thank you.